Thank you so much, Chair, and lovely to see Ishmahan here. I wish you were here in person. My sister, it's a bit intimidating always to speak after Ismahan because she's just so smart. But that's what we're counting on the scientists for. And I think this kind of gathering of scientists and academics and diplomats and practitioners is exactly the kind of energy and intellect that we need to be bringing to these challenges. If the timer can start, yeah, then I'll do my very best to stay within time and even cut back a little bit if possible. It's really an honor to be here for this conversation, and I think it is exactly at this kind of moment that we need to be having these kind of discussions so that we can really address the issues that are facing us in a context where needs are higher than ever and resources, despite being at record levels, fall short of meeting those needs. And in this context, innovation is more important than ever in allowing practitioners and organizations like the World Food Program, where I work, to deliver impactful assistance at scale. Innovation comes in many forms. If you look at the World Food Program, which started as a vehicle for moving the surpluses of the global north to food deficit countries in the south facing crisis or needing support towards food security, today WFP buys most of what it distributes rather than receiving it as donations, and 4.2 million metric tons were bought, costing $3.3 billion last year, and the majority of that, nearly 60%, is purchased in the same countries where we are operating, for those countries or for other countries. So an investment more in countries' own capabilities to purchase, distribute, and market their surpluses. And I'll talk about cash as well in a moment. But really, innovation has become a keystone, both of our short-term life-saving work, enabling WFP to do more and do better for people on the front lines of conflict and climate shocks and emergencies, but also in our longer-term work. Innovation is key for building resilience and helping to address structural vulnerabilities and root causes of hunger. And we look at that as a sort of twin agenda of seeking to do the opportunity to do better to meet needs in emergencies, like in Yemen, where I traveled to in February, where WFP has been delivering life-saving assistance for 13 million people with staple foods like wheat and vegetable, and with cash assistance that allows recipients to shop at local markets, but matching an effort to meet needs with efforts to reduce needs through our Changing Lives work, which encompasses the programs that build resilience and self-sufficiency for the longer term. And that includes work with governments to strengthen national school meals programs to ensure that all children benefit from a healthy meal in school, and that meal is sourced primarily from local production and local produce, or programs like in Niger, where through integrated resilience packages operating in partnership, WFP, FAO, and UNICEF, we've been able to see a change where 80% of the villages who participated in these programs were able to, and these are in villages that were classified as extremely vulnerable, were then not requiring any humanitarian assistance last year, thanks to their own participation and development of their assets and livelihoods in these areas. So innovation takes those forms as well. And the bottom line is that the pressure that we face to save lives through emergency work is going to stay persistently high unless we can enhance people's own resilience to the drivers of hunger and address these underlying challenges. And innovation has a key role to play in helping scaling up our solutions to the root causes of hunger and bringing down the level of humanitarian needs. Yesterday, we had several interventions that really laid out the context: hunger at an all-time high, record level of resources, gaps bigger than ever. Massimo shared with us some headline statistics and emphasized how conflict, climate change, COVID, and rising costs have been intersecting in a way that drives needs up while reducing the capacity of nations, communities, and individuals to cope. And against this backdrop, it's proving harder than ever for humanitarian actors to assemble the finances needed for an adequate response. And so this also calls upon us to do more with less, to be more efficient with the resources that we receive. And a business as usual approach is simply not going to be enough to address needs, or certainly not to end hunger. I wanted to highlight a few of the ways in which we're using innovation in action today in countries around the world. But first, let me highlight that the process of developing and mainstreaming innovations in the program is in and of itself an important process to embed in the organization. And at the World Food Program, that's catalyzed at our Innovation Accelerator, which operates out of Munich. The accelerator was launched in 2015, basically to supercharge the fight against hunger. It's a state-of-the-art hub whose primary goal is to identify, support, and scale high-impact innovations, startups, nonprofit innovations, and internal solutions. Through it, we offer innovators mentorship, hands-on assistance, access to seed funding, and once an innovation is field ready, we connect it with our operations and put it to work. And to date, the Innovation Accelerator has supported over 120 innovations, with 22 of them scaling up globally. And last year alone, 37 million people across 88 countries were reached by interventions and innovations supported through the accelerator. And the co-funding element of this, bringing in private and public investors, has been key for taking these innovations to scale. So a few of the ones that I wanted to highlight today will be just examples of some of the things that are underway. One of which is an innovation we call Hunger Map Live. Now, COVID revealed for all of us how important access to real-time information was in order to be protecting ourselves, our families, our businesses, our investments in life. In the food security sector, most monitoring has been looks backwards, looks at what has evolved over time. It's reliant on delayed memory, past assessments, and so often, once the information is available, it can even already be outdated by changing trends, and things have been changing very fast on the ground. So over the course of the past few years, we've developed a real-time monitoring tool on food security, which has proven to be a game changer. It allows us to identify near immediate deteriorations in the food security of vulnerable households, which means that we know exactly when we need to deploy an accelerated or a changed response. It's an integrated global platform that collects, processes, and then maps out real-time information on key food security metrics like insufficient food consumption or crisis or emergency livelihood coping metrics, on conflict, weather events, inflation, and other drivers of food security. It's all in real time, and it's in one place, and it's free to access for anyone in the humanitarian sector. So it's available online as a global public good. Our own field teams at the World Food Program often rely on Hunger Map Live to get a significant head start on impending deteriorations, which is absolutely critical when we're looking to help nations tackle complex emergencies, for instance, in Haiti or Afghanistan or Somalia. And as well as improving our understanding of where and when we need to respond to acute needs, we are also then looking at how we can strengthen the supply chain response to these needs and how we can optimize our supply chain planning and optimization. And so this brings me to a second innovation I wanted to highlight, which is Optimus, which puts advanced analytics at the center of our supply chain decision-making processes. So Optimus is an online system where our teams on the ground can quickly explore and compare different operational plans, allowing them to rapidly identify the most cost-effective ways to meet and assist people in need. So here again, doing more with less. It runs on data sources like beneficiary numbers, transport routes, nutritional values, and can generate an operational plan that takes into account real-time operational restrictions like border restrictions or conflict crossing points, and preferences like lead times, funding, nutrition targets, or local procurement targets. So far, 48 of our country offices, including country offices in Syria, Ethiopia, and Afghanistan, have been using this tool, and we estimate that it's saved these operations and those who finance them $50 million. So innovations also save money. I want to go to the area of cash-based transfers, which has been a huge area of growth and change for the World Food Program, and one that supports our work both in meeting needs and reducing needs. We've been capitalizing on the growth of mobile money to send cash to people in hard-to-reach context, and that can be a starting point also for their financial inclusion by providing access to bank accounts and financial services to previously unbanked and underserved populations, often for the very first time. Now, today, WFP is sending money to people in 72 countries, where often markets are functioning, but people can't afford to buy food. $3.3 billion transferred to populations just last year. Up to 80% of the cash-based transfers assistance is distributed in emergency operations like Somalia, in Ukraine, in Afghanistan. Now, cash is in and of itself for us is no longer an innovation. It's simply a way of working. But what we're trying to use is further innovate the way we use the modality so that we can bring in new technological applications that allow us to reach people faster and more effectively through products like a payment instrument tracking application, which we started using to distribute and secure card services to beneficiaries across Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, and South Asia in order to verify identity before a transfer. And this gives us and our investors the assurance that every cent we distribute is reaching the right people. And governments have asked for us to help build their capacity to incorporate these same assurance systems in national government-to-person cash payment systems and national social protection systems. I wanted to touch on nutrition for a moment as well. Jeannie highlighted the real importance of ensuring that we're innovating the way in which we're addressing wasting and acute malnutrition in order to ensure that we can keep up and get in front of the growing levels of acute malnutrition around the world. One of the ways in which we're doing that is through CODA, a digital tool that streamlines nutrition program decision-making, monitoring, and reporting. The application of CODA is allowing us to replace what has been paper-based records with a digital program and platform that can operate on mobile devices and durable smart cards. And it represents a step change along with some of the policy changes that Jeannie was highlighting in how malnutrition can be managed at the clinic level and at the national level. And then last but not least, I wanted to touch on the real importance of innovation in the areas of climate resilience. And Ismahan had highlighted this. We're finding that many of the countries who are on the front lines of the climate crisis have done the least to contribute to the climate change that we're all facing. And one of our main priorities in this space is to work closely with communities in climate risk hotspots to help build their resilience to climate shocks and stressors and get additional protections, including climate risk insurance, to the most vulnerable people, and to provide anticipatory financing before a climate hazard turns into a disaster. And thanks to progress with climate modeling and impact-based forecasting, it's now possible to undertake anticipatory actions that save lives, time, and money. And strong early warning systems are a critical piece of that equation. In Somalia, for example, last year, we took anticipatory action that prevented thousands of people from falling into short-term needs. So in closing, I hope that this brief overview that I've highlighted has helped to reinforce the value both of investing in and mainstreaming innovative actions in humanitarian crisis. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.